Welcome back to Cheaper Pop Culture, the show that likes to laugh at wrestlers when they try projects outside of wrestling. What's that? Are you another one of those oversensitive wussies that thinks I'm being mean? Well, f you and the horse you rode in on, because some wrestlers actually want to be laughed at. So there, now, don't you feel like an asshole? And that's exactly what today's episode is all about. The being laughed at part, not you being an asshole, just... Man, I just flew in from WrestleMania and boy are my arms tired. Take Roman Reigns, please. Surprisingly, several wrestlers have taken to the stand-up stage to get a chuckle out of the masses, trading in backbreakers to working the funny bone. Now, some wrestlers have seen a bit of exposure when it comes to the comedy circuit, but others have maintained more of a low-key setting, which was only made available to the crowd in attendance. But no matter if they performed in front of millions and millions, or if they just gave it a shot at a small local venue, they're going to be getting the spotlight right here. So allow me to present to you some of the wrestlers who have performed comedy while standing up. Opening tonight, Dolph Ziggler. Dolph has been testing the waters as a stand-up comedian and is speculated to be pursuing it even further with his new deal in the WWE. His dabbling on stage is also seen as something of a nest egg, as Dolph has said that he would really like to get into it after he retires from wrestling. And as another example of Dolph's interest in comedians, Ziggles used to date the comedian Amy Schumer. Whoa, after seeing Trainwreck, I guess that's another spot that John Cena took away from him, huh? The Rock has said that he's treated aspects of pro wrestling just like stand-up comedy, which makes it all the more fitting that after his full-time run as a wrestler ended and after he put several movies under his belt, The Rock would eventually find himself on stage, mic in hand. In November of 2015, The Rock would make his debut at The Improv. Now, his natural charisma and comedic prowess makes it very obvious that The Rock would have no problem as a comedian. I mean, he was already pausing for laughs when he cut promos anyway, so I guess this really wasn't that hard of a transition, now is it? Bang bang! The king of the cheap pop, Mick Foley, likable and funny as well as being a best-selling writer, Foley has already possessed all of the necessary tools for being a comedian. Since stepping away from the ring, the former Cactus Jack has periodically gone touring, but on the comedy circuit. Foley mostly dishes out a helping of self-deprecating humor. I guess it's not all that surprising that Foley's act consists mostly of self-inflicted punishment. Receiver of a personal shout-out from CM Punk during the infamous pipe bomb, Colt Cabana has been very well known for being a comedian in the ring. Now, while there are those who anger at his antics like an irate Uncle Phil, there are others out there who just love the humor that Colt Cabana brings to the table. With that being said, it should serve as no surprise that Cabana has taken his shtick to the stage every now and again, most notably with Brendan Burns at Edinburgh Fringe Fest, but he has also taken to the stage in order to help raise funds for charity. One of the best mic workers of all time, Rowdy Piper, has made a few rounds on the comedy stage. Naturally animated and a gifted storyteller, not to mention an actor as well, Piper was a natural fit for the world of comedy. Piper's act had a knack for going off on Ric Flair and for telling stories about some of the wild events of his life. Wrestler, comic book fan, and stand-up comic, Rob Van Dam is clearly lobbying for the title of the coolest guy ever. The whole effing show has been known to work comedy shows at the world-famous Comedy Store. As you would suspect, RVD does have a fair amount of material when it comes to the subject of weed, but he also doesn't shy away from making the occasional reference to wrestling. But a good amount of his act is actually an intelligent examining of language, comedy, and censorship. A surprising entry on this list, William Regal, or Steven Regal. Throughout his career, Regal has been known for his abilities as a legitimate fighter and for having all the intensity of a British Christopher Walken. But not many know that he has always held a strong love for comedians, which is why on November 7th, 2012, Regal made his stand-up comedy debut. Some fellow members of the industry came to support him, including Gerald Briscoe, Norman Smiley, and good old JR. His act has been described as mostly eloquently telling the wild stories of his life spent in the wrestling industry. Since then, he has also been known to occasionally drop comedic science at NXT live events and small venues, especially back home in England. Well, there you go for another episode of Cheaper Pop Culture, which is all about the haha. So join me next time and really find out if I'm wearing pants underneath this desk, because I'm not. Bye.